Now, a new campaign called Daddy and Me has been launched by the parent support group Anam Cara in the run-up to Father's Day this Sunday. It aims to raise awareness of the difficulties all bereaved dads face, which of course is all too real now for the fathers of those who died in Berkeley. Adrian Hendrick, good morning.
Good morning, John.
And thanks for coming in to talk about Daddy and Me.
No problem.
A very difficult time for fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters, but presumably you can relate to some of the, I suppose the how would you describe it? The grief,
well, the devastation,
the devastation,
I think,
and the grief that we're witnessing.
Yeah, for sure, John. I mean, this week, any parent can. I'm sure these poor families are in every parent's minds this week, and what they must be going through. And I was at an Anam Cara meeting last night, and we were all discussing, how easy it was for us to take ourselves back to that particular situation. I know in this particular situation it's extremely tragic circumstances and they're dealing with a lot of trauma from that, but the reality for any parent is that one day your child is there and the next day your child is gone, and regardless of what has happened or how that has occurred, it's trying to cope with the transition from being in a world where everything was okay, your children were here and alive and well, and suddenly, in no time at all, you're thrown, your world is just blown apart, and those families and those parents they've a long road ahead, but obviously at this particular time we can certainly, any parents who've been bereaved can relate to that, the absolute shock and overwhelming devastation that those poor families must be going through at the moment. And
the focus of this initiative is on fathers, because the information we've gathered, the research says that when it comes to grieving, that it's a more difficult thing for them than it is for mothers.
I don't know if I'd use I don't know if it's more difficult. It's obviously difficult for both sets, but I think certainly my experience of having been involved with Anam Cara since Aoife died nearly 3 years ago, I've gone to quite a number of meetings, and it's always the majority of people who attend those meetings are the mothers. Okay. You do get fathers going, but there just seems to be a reluctance of fathers to go into a space where they can talk openly and freely about what they might be going through. And I think men in general perhaps have a reluctance to express vulnerability and to be able to say, look, particularly in this situation and my situation was to be able to say, look, I'm hit really hard. I've taken a bullet here and I'm on my knees. And quite often in those early months, John, like friends and family would have often come to me and said, "How's on you?" And which is a perfectly valid question to ask, how's your wife and so on.
Wife, yeah.
But there's a voice inside your head saying, I'm pretty bad here too.
I'm struggling too.
Yeah, I'm struggling too. And so I think it's important, for fathers to irregardless of how long ago they've lost their child or how recently it is, to be able to say, look, this hurts. It still hurts, and in the weeks and months and even years later, it's still something that you're continuously learning how to live with, So. And
tell us about Aoife.
Yeah, well, Aoife, how long have you got? Aoife was such a special little girl for us. She was our first child. She was born in 2007. We had struggled for a couple of years to have children, and then Aoife was our blessing that came along, and she just lit up our world, and she was everything to us, and we then had another girl and a boy after it, Roisin and Owen, and in 2012, in May 2012, we were the perfect family unit. We had three young kids at 4, 2 and 1, and then middle of April 2012, Aoife complained of a sore elbow. We had just got a trampoline. We were slightly concerned, but not too concerned. The following week, it was the other elbow was sore. And then there was some tests done, and on May the 15th, 2012, we were in Temple Street, having been told all along that this wasn't serious. It was probably some sort of an arthritic virus that she had. But at 9:30, May 15th, you're in a room at Temple Street, and you're being told Aoife has leukemia, and you need to be in Crumlin Hospital at 3 o'clock this afternoon to begin a 2-year programme. And that's a life-changing moment. Obviously, not as big as the one that was to follow, but it certainly, threw us into a whirlwind situation. And over the course of that summer, Aoife, the leukemia treatment she had, it was a very good prognosis in terms of she was supposed to have a 90 to 95% chance of recovery, but unfortunately she had some setbacks with some infections and so on, and it was a roller coaster of up and down throughout that summer. But we were there, willing and able to literally throw our world into Aoife for 2 years to get her back, get her better, and hope to continue on with our lives as normal again. But,
and you did believe that she would pull through.
Yeah,
certainly. That the noises coming from the doctor as well is that this was this could be dealt with.
Towards at the outset, John, when she was first diagnosed, that certainly was the case. But then there was a series of setbacks, and there was periods of time during that summer that we thought that might not be the case. But then in August, things seemed to turn around. Early August 2012, the infection started to clear a little, and we were on August the 20th. Katie Taylor was in Crumlin and met Aoife. Aoife was on the front page of the Irish Times that day, and that was the day we were told Aoife could come home, and that it would be okay to just bring her in every day for some antibiotic treatment and so on.
And you were getting her ready for her first day in school.
Yeah,
as well.
That's it. I mean, this is I suppose in some ways I can relate to the suddenness of what's happened this week, in that, and people might find it strange that Aoife had leukemia and so on, but we were still we had got ourselves to a point where Aoife was a day before school. There was a special needs assistant in place for the school because Aoife had lost some strength in her right arm, but she was okay, John. She was doing well, and just that particular day, the 9 days later, the day before she was to start school, she was in for a routine sort of checkup in Crumlin. She began to feel not so well, and I was at home, and my wife Anya said, look, they're going to keep Aoife in, maybe you should come in. And I said, absolutely. I would have said goodbye to Aoife at lunchtime. I'll see you in a few hours, but I couldn't not see her before she went to sleep at night. That was the way it was. I wanted to go in and give her a hug and a kiss and tell her I'd see her tomorrow. I went into the hospital I got there for 5:30, and at 7:20, John, she had some sort of an event, some sort of a seizure of some form, and she was gone, and it was a complete shock, and having been that very afternoon with Aoife in the car driving around Malahide Village, I bought her a bunch of flowers at lunchtime that very day, and 6 hours later, she's gone. And 16 hours after that, you're sitting with a coroner and you're talking about autopsy options, and it's what can I say? Your world it's gone. It's just literal devastation, and you just can't believe that this is happening. You just cannot comprehend what people are saying to you, what words are coming into your sphere. It's almost impossible to digest, and
it's all in a blur, in other words.
It is, yeah, it is. Well, I suppose and again, I'm not trying to say similarly again to the families. We wanted to know what had happened. How could this have happened? Like, I know, okay, she was sick, but what happened? And the autopsy scenario was being explained was that this was good. They could do this autopsy, but it would be some 12 weeks before we would have any definitive answers as to what exactly had caused this seizure that caused Aoife's heart to stop. So we left Crumlin and go home and prepare for the funeral, and we will see you in 11 or 12 weeks, and that's a pretty long vacuum of time, to be confused, deranged with devastation almost, and
angry.
All those emotions, angry for sure, but I suppose we were really, really concerned as to what, had something happened in terms of the medication, because had she been allowed home too soon? Should she have come home? There was anger, but it was, I suppose, just devastation. I suppose anger goes into devastation quite easily. But it was certainly this vacuum of not what do you do? What do you do in this situation? What are you supposed to do? How do you, I'll be perfectly honest with you, John. During that period of time, it was, can I even continue to go on breathing here? Can my body take this? You would have been walking up to the cemetery and being suffocated by breathlessness and a weakness and a physical lethargy that almost makes you wonder, can I keep going here? Is this going to, not that I was a danger to myself per se, but that is my body just going to stop here? This is so hard. And it was in that period of time that I first came across Anam Cara. And
by the way, did you get the answers you were looking for? About
well, not really. There's no clear answer on that. What happened? What they were able to tell us was there was a series of things that they knew hadn't happened, but what they had, the conclusion that they had arrived at was that there had been an infection that had gone into Aoife's brain during the course of that particular summer. It was an infection that they felt was clearing, but that the aftermath or the result of that infection was that there could have been some slight aftershock or damage to a wire or some portion of the brain. They couldn't definitively say where or what or how, but that in any situation where you have any kind of a head trauma, there can be some sort of an aftermath reaction down the line, and that potentially had happened and had caused Aoife's heart to stop in an instant. So it wasn't definitive, but it was their best. But they were quite reassuring in terms that it had certainly nothing to do with any of the medication changes or anything like that. So it wasn't the leukemia per se that took Aoife in the end. It was a result of having had to have this. I mean, chemo treatment, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard for
And Anam Cara, you mentioned, this came at a very critical time for you. Because,
it did. Well, just in that time, I suppose that's with dads. I suppose you were, what do I do? What can I do? I need to, I can't. Do we just sit here and wait? Or what? So
did you cry a lot?
I did. I would say myself and I, we got great support in those early weeks because we had two young kids, John. We just weren't able for them, and we had family from Galway and Mayo and Dublin that just took those kids and allowed us to go, and we would go and the gentleman you had beforehand there walking, and that's what we would do. We'd walk on a beach and we'd find an isolated spot there in Portmarnock and we would sit and cry, and it's. The tears didn't always flow. There was sometimes that you would feel that you wanted to cry or needed to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. And speaking to a bereavement counsellor sometime later around that, sometimes it's just there's too much to process, and you can't vent. It's just you're so confused and frozen with fear that you can't even cry. You're just literally in a state of, what is going on here? I just can't even process what's happening. And
it also extended to what was a much happier event in your life when Anya, your wife, became pregnant, and she felt guilt as she carried the baby about what was happening. Well, it's hard. It is hard. I mean, it's great that you've asked me that, and we get to mention Amy, who's our beautiful little 1-year-old. She'll be 2 now in October. She's come along and a blessing, no doubt. But part of the Anam Cara help that we got was by going to these meetings and just listening to other parents and their experiences. Was there were other parents who were at those groups and who had. We were considering would it be possible for us to have another child? Is that a terrible thing to even be considering? It was maybe a year and a half or so after we'd lost Aoife. But by going to an Anam Cara meeting and just being in that space and hearing other parents who had gone on to have other children and who had now new, I suppose it helped to lessen any potential guilt that might have been there. But it was difficult when you're so heartbroken to be, you have this split screen life whereby you're torn apart by a tragedy, but at the same time Anya was carrying a baby and it was so there is this dual scenario that you're trying to deal with. But for sure, Anam Cara helped in that regard too. But just to hear, just to know that other parents do this, and there's this beautiful term that they use. They're babies that come in the aftermath of such,
devastation and loss can be called rainbow babies, who come along after a storm. And it's a lovely
expression.
It's a lovely expression, yeah. And that's what Amy is, our little rainbow baby.
Yeah. And how are you today? And how are you and Anya? And the family?
No, we're good. I mean, we're very much. I mean, we the kids know I'm coming in to talk about Aoife. That's the other, Roisin and Owen, and I would have seen them at 7:30 this morning, and we had a group hug in their room, and Daddy's going to talk about Aoife, and Daddy's always happy to talk about Aoife, and they know that, and that's very important for us as a family too. Aoife is centre of the group. She comes with us, and she's very much talked about all the time, and we try to do things with Roisin and Owen's friends in school that allows them to see that they have this sister Aoife. Okay, she's not here, but she's very real, was very real, and continues to be real for us, so that has helped over these few years, that we have found ways to bring Aoife with us, even though she's not here, not in any hugely spiritual sense now, but just she remains part of our story. She is part of our story, and when Anam Cara or anybody asks me to come and speak and speak about Aoife, I'm always glad to do so, because she's such a great girl.
And I'm sure it'll be the same for the parents of those who died in Berkeley, that they will carry the very strong memory of better times with their children. And
for sure, there's no words that I could say or anyone could say that's going to help in that right now. I know it's utter devastation, but in time, they may find a way to be able to cherish those memories even more. I know these children were 20 and 21, and they Aoife was 5, but it doesn't really matter. And from Anam Cara's point of view, it doesn't. They encourage parents of children of any age, and regardless of what the circumstances were that caused the death, that parents are encouraged to come along and go to those meetings. But in time, there's very little anyone can say to those parents now. But in time, perhaps it will help to just to talk.
Well, Adrian, thank you for coming in and telling us your story this morning. Just to remind people about the Daddy and Me campaign that Anam Cara are asking everyone to share a picture of you and your dad, or if you're a dad, you and your son or daughter, on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, and include the hashtag Daddy and Me, and tag and nominate 3 friends or companies to do the same. Donate and include the following text information in your post or tweet. Text support to 50300 to donate €4 to Anam Cara, and we'll put those details up on our Facebook page. And just before you go, Adrian, just a couple of texts. Breed says, thank you for this conversation. 15 years on, it still hurts so much, yet you feel people think you're fine and over it because you have stopped crying. Sometimes there are just no tears left. And another, my love goes out to Aoife's dad. I am sowing wildflowers and spread them for him. Adrian Hendrick, thanks a million. And
thank you, John.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you.